I'd expected to keep the Slug in Southwold harbour for no more than a couple of weeks. Just enough time to explore the Blythe, and then I was going to head off around to Lowestoft and into the Norfolk Broads, aiming to get there before the summer flush of higher mobos kill the peace and quiet of the place. But the problems with the beast meant that it was June the 1st before I was ready to leave. I was really looking forward to the next part of the journey, and although my wallet was £500 lighter, at least the gearbox was now talking to the drive shaft again. The beast in the bows of the Slug was clonking contentedly as we put out to sea on the ebb, ready to turn left for the next schlep along the coast. Sadly, it was a dull, grey old day, and pretty soon both the wind and the tide were against us. The beast did all the work for the whole of the trip. The coast by the Suffolk and Norfolk border shows signs of a shoreline that's in transition. Nothing new, it's always been this way, since the last ice age anyway. Google Earth reveals the corpses of dead rivers that were blocked hundreds or even thousands of years ago by the relentless physical exertions of easterly gales and longshore drift. Trees, forests, houses and whole villages have disappeared into the North Sea.
What's the date?
1st of June?
2nd of June. And the sun's shining, but it's still cold.
It was half term, which was why Jill was with me, and although the travelling wasn't particularly pleasant, we both knew that ahead of us lay one of the main highlights of this whole journey around the UK, the Norfolk Broads. The name Broads is an all-encompassing moniker that covers a number of river systems that drain a large chunk of the Norfolk coast. 6 rivers in all: the Yare, Chet and Waveney in the south, the Ant, Bure and Thurn in the north. Rivers themselves are absolutely stunning and offer sailing that's both delightful and challenging. The local boats have tall, graceful rigs designed to reach up past the trees to grab the wind and convert it into forward motion down at water level. The Slug, though, with its stubby mast and 3 keels, is anything but ideal. But we have a spinnaker. The Broads have gentle tides to help us along, and I'm a very, very patient man. The rivers themselves are teeming with fish. The local insects are spectacular, but seldom seem to show any desire to bother humans that much. The bird life is sometimes too good to be true, and they're used to boats, so you can get as close as you want to them. If all this isn't good enough for you, the rivers and channels widen out into the Broads. 43 wide expanses of water, the result of hundreds of years of peat extraction, dug out by hard-working men and maybe the odd hard-working woman as well. It amazes me that other circumnavigators sweep past this wonderland without giving it a second glance. I fear they're spurred on by an overwhelming combination of deep keels, deep pockets, and a tight schedule, which conspire to keep them out of the interesting places. The Broads have tides, but almost no tidal range, so you can stop almost anywhere, more up to a tree, and enjoy the peace. If you love beautiful wooden sailing boats, then the Broads are the place to go. There are several locations you can hire one of these gems for the week. No formal qualifications are needed at all. They'll send a man with you for the first half hour just to make sure that you're not too much of an idiot. Our plan is to spend the week on the southern rivers and then head over to Horning in the North Broads in time for the Three Rivers race. In my opinion, it's one of the world's great sailing spectacles. Hundreds of wooden boats competing in the 24-hour Three Rivers race, and there's not an ugly one among them. The Broads is a sailor's dream, a sort of nirvana, where you can get a good sail in any weather and where you can always find a great pub. There's only one drawback. It's a mecca for hireboat mobos. Their antics can be enough to test the patience of a saint. And this late in the season, I know there'll be moments when I have to find my inner zen. But before passing through into this water heaven, I have two bridges and a lock to negotiate, because the south entrance to the Broads is through the UK's most easterly port, Lowestoft. You want to come and steer? It used to have a massive fishing fleet. At one time, the harbour was crowded with the local vessels. Fishing started to get really profitable once there was a good railway connection to London. So they started steam trawling. Then life for the fishermen got even better and they went over to diesel. They all got so damned efficient that the North Sea fish stocks fell through the floor. It seemed to come as a great shock to everyone that ploughing the sea floor with massive trawls would kill the North Sea flora and the fauna. Lowestoft was also an important cargo port. Norfolk wherries, 50-foot long single-sail barges, would bring agricultural products down to the docks from the rivers for transshipment to larger coasters. The place was a massive port. But now it's sadly diminished and does very little cargo. Although there is quite a good population of oil and wind farm support vessels, there are lots of interesting boats along the quays, including these two naval auxiliaries destined for Nigeria. They were bought following a few emails from a respectable Nigerian company, apparently. An Asda has now been built on what was once valuable wharfside real estate, so you can tell that as a serious port, Lowestoft's days are numbered. top end is now starting to get covered in a sprawl of yacht pontoons. And looking at these yachts, I guess that now is the era of the sugar scoop stern lozenge. One day, these yachts will be considered classics. Fortunately though, there's lots to look at while waiting for the lockkeeper to finish his lunch. And he was the man who kindly issued me with a licence to cover our stay on Britain's most idyllic river system. It was an investment well worth making.